Good evening, everyone. This is Lizzie,
And I'm May,
and we are Mayhem Mamas.
where on this channel we talk about what we want because it's our channel.
Welcome back, everybody, and we want to thank you for joining us and listening and supporting us. If you'd please just hit that like and subscribe button, we'd appreciate it. It's a great way to support us, and it doesn't cost anything. And we'd
Free.
love to hear what you have to say and how you feel about everything. So, tonight is our Holidays with the Family episode, Love or Obligation. Now,
Yes.
I don't want anybody to get their feelings hurt now over this. We're going to talk the truth on here, and it's our opinion alone. We don't always agree on things, and I'm not sure how we're going to come out on this one. So, everybody, just sit back, relax, and let's just talk about this like rational adults. So, this is the deal. I love the holidays. I love Thanksgiving. I love Christmas and New Year's and everything that entails. Decorating the presents, the shopping, all of it, the food, the get-togethers.
hmm
But sometimes I feel like things in this 2022 world has have gotten a little bit out of hand.
Okay.
Okay?
hmm
Like I'm just going to take a for instance what it used to transpire when I was a child growing up. Now, keep in mind that I'm basing this on the times that we actually lived near my grandparents, which were far and few between. And I'm basing this on sometimes we were living in other countries and couldn't make it back for Christmas. But I'm
Right.
going to just speak to the times that we were
Okay.
amongst family during Christmas time. So what would happen is that we would get up on on Christmas Eve, and that would be a day where my mom would be cooking and my aunts and everybody would be cooking, and it was always Christmas Eve at my mother's mom's house. So my maternal grandmother's home. And
Okay.
everybody got together, all of my mom's siblings and their spouses and us kids, and we would get together on Christmas Eve evening and we would cook and we would eat and we would sing Christmas carols and read the Bible story, exchange gifts, and that was our big holiday thing with my mom's side of the family.
And were they a large family?
Yes, my mom,
Okay.
there's 6 siblings, and yes, it was a large family, and a lot of times it wasn't just my mom's immediate family, which entailed tons of people. It would be like, great aunts and their kids and so it was just a big get together, and at my grandma's house, it was just everybody was invited, and whoever wanted to come came. It was a big deal. So then on Christmas morning, we would wake up early and we would open up our gifts from my mom and dad, like from Santa Claus and from my mom and dad.
Okay.
And then for Christmas Day lunch, we would always go to my paternal grandmother's house. And so we'd go to my dad's mom and dad's house and we would have Christmas lunch with them. That is how our holidays went. Okay, so it was. I
hmm
mean, it's two different things. I'm not really counting the present thing at home because we just rip into the presents. That'd be over.
Right. Right.
But those were our traditions, and so it seemed to go really smooth. You weren't, there wasn't bickering or fighting over where we going, what time this. It was always the same place, same time, same year. Everything was the same.
hmm
Now let's fast forward to I get to be an adult, and uh, a lot of my adult life was not lived near my family. I lived away from my family in other state for a large portion of my adult years, and my daughter lived away from the family the majority of her childhood. So it wasn't until she was about 13 that we actually moved around and lived around my family.
Okay.
So at that point in time, when we did, then things started getting a little more complicated, but not quite as complicated until I remarried. Then when I married my lovely husband now, he has his huge family that's big like my family used to be. He still has grandparents that are alive, which I don't anymore because of our age difference. So
Right.
now I've got my mom, his mom, then I've got my mom's family, her siblings that still get together for Christmas Eve. And then my husband has his grandparents that get together for Christmas Eve. So it's a real tangled web
Right.
of where do you go, what do you do? Because you join into the family, and my family's always had Christmas Eve traditions, but his family has Eve traditions as well. And then as does Christmas Day. So
Right.
it makes things really, really difficult on, like, there's 2 or 3 things to go to on this day, and then there's 2 things to go on this day. It's just like you feel like you're cooking and running constantly.
Right.
So how's your dynamic? Is it like that?
Uh, yeah. So l- as a young child, when we lived out of country, obviously we didn't always make it back.
Right, it was different. My same as
Right.
my situation.
But when we lived in state, uh, or stateside, we majority of the time would make it back to our hometown with the family. I remember being at my mother's parents' house and staying the night and doing the Santa thing and having the big Christmas and Christmas Eve and Christmas and Thanksgiving. Like that was the whole thing there. Anytime I was out of school for a long period of time, it was always majority at uh mom's house, my grandparents' house on my mom's
Okay, so
side.
you did the majority of your stuff at your mom's parents.
Right. There was a couple of times there are a couple of times we did go to my dad's parents' house. My paternal grandmother is not a huge cook, and so she didn't fix these huge fancy meals. There
So
was
you come
some.
by that naturally.
Yeah. Yep.
There you go. I knew it came from somewhere.
Yeah, it's genetic. There was tensions on that side of family for whatever reason. So we didn't necessarily spend a lot of time over there. We
Uh-huh.
spent some, but not a lot.
Right. Uh-huh.
And so it was spent at my mom's parents' house. I
Right.
always remember my grandmother in the kitchen cooking, and it felt like what was a huge, I mean, the china came out, the silver came out,
Right. It
all
was a
this
big
stuff
deal.
came out. It was a big to do, and I felt like my grandma spent majority of the time cooking, making the Christmas candies and the Christmas pies and I mean, like I felt like she spent 2 weeks before Christmas making stuff.
Well, and that's kind of the same way with my grandma and my mom, and my aunt. Same thing. I mean, that's one thing as a tradition we still try to do. My mom and my sister and I and the grand girls,
Mhm.
if they're around. Obviously, my daughter and my daughter-in-law live out of state, but we always get together for a cooking day.
Right.
I mean, that's just something we've carried on doing. But yes, my mom and all, they used to cook for a week, or
Right.
sometimes, I mean, really seriously, a week,
Mhm.
because you'd make
Exactly.
different candies. I mean, we
Mhm.
always had so much homemade fudge and candies and cookies and cutout cookies and breads and
Yes.
cakes and
Yes.
pies. And I mean, just so much stuff.
So I guess my question is that something they or y'all or whoever, is that an enjoyment or is that an obligation because it's that time of year and people expect it?
Okay, so don't boo me out here now, people. Come on now, give me a break. I I feel really torn. Like, the cooking part of it, I enjoy that. I really do enjoy that as long as it's planned ahead of time.
Mhm.
And it's on a day that's been planned. I don't want you to call me up on a Sunday and say, okay, can you come on Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday? No, not around the holidays, and no, not that close to to Christmas. I'm too busy. I have too much other stuff doing. I'm
Mhm.
finishing shopping. I'm wrapping. I'm
Mhm.
cooking myself. As long as it's a day that has been pre-planned several weeks in advance and I know about it, I can calmly decide what I'm going to bring, what we're going to make that day on my part. I enjoy that. But
Right.
when it gets to be, oh, I can't do that day, I can't do that day, and it just kind of gets slid in there,
Mhm.
I'm a planner and that twerks me out. Like I can't hardly deal. It gives me such anxiety. So then the day comes and I go over there and I'm just so anxious that I can't enjoy it.
Now what about Mama Lizzie?
Now my mom, she loves it. Oh yeah, she loves the cooking. She loves the get together. I think she more loves just the getting together with everyone and sharing that experience and making the memories.
Uh-huh, the social aspect of
The
it.
social aspect of it, but we do love the cooking because we like to eat.
Yeah,
And
I
we
like to eat
all
too.
have our favorite candies. I know. We all love our favorite candies and our favorite cookies and all that kind of stuff. So I think from probably out of the 3 of us, my mom,
Mhm.
my sister, and myself, my
Mhm.
sister probably gets the most enjoyment out of it.
Okay.
She's way into, um, the family, doing things with the family, traditions, carrying out those traditions, that kind of thing. Not to say my mom isn't,
Mhm.
but, yeah, I think they probably look forward to it a lot more than I do. But like I said, if it is planned out properly and the date saved, I do enjoy it. I do love getting together with my sister and my mom. I love them and my nieces. And so I
Mhm.
do enjoy that. Now, what are your feelings? Did you ever do that with your mom? Did you ever have cooking? Did you ever do that kind of stuff?
So I was literally just listening to your story and thinking about, well, I wonder why your experience is different from my experience. And I started thinking, you have a sister. I do not. I'm the only child.
Right, right,
Your mom has siblings. My mom has a sibling, but she was not around when we were around.
right,
She
right,
lived in different states. She did her own thing. She didn't
right.
come home
Very
on the holidays. So it was like a very small family, let's just say.
uh-huh.
My aunt's children were in college at the time, and so either if they were to visit, it would normally be after the holidays, on their vacations, their breaks,
Right.
or before. It didn't seem like, I don't remember them being there during. So there was never a bunch of people there at Christmas Eve or at Christmas
Mhm.
or Thanksgiving. So it could be the fact that there was just a small, like my grandpa, my grandma, my mom, my dad, and me.
Right, that's very small.
So, there wasn't gathering in the kitchen, because one, my mom was the type of person, let me do it myself, get it done, get it fast, get it out of the way. Um, my mom could cook. I don't necessarily remember her being in my grandma's kitchen cooking. I remember my grandma doing it all. And my grandma may have been that type of person. Let me do it myself,
Right, I'll just do it. Mhm.
get it done, get it out of the way.
Mhm.
Um,
Now see everything that we did and I do think it's definitely uh you didn't have a big family. I had
mhm,
siblings. My mom and my dad had lots of siblings and then that means lots of spouses, lots of children, lots of grandchildren. And so that whole gathering in the kitchen thing was
mhm,
something that we did in every scenario. Like when we would go over to my grandmother's on Christmas Eve, late afternoon, early evening. Everybody'd always go over early because even though you had your stuff together, things had to be put out, things had to be mixed up. All the women were in the kitchen. I mean, everyone was finishing up stuff. I mean, everything socially, family wise, a lot of memories are all about food and cooking and that kind of stuff.
Mhm. Yeah.
And so that's something that's definitely a tradition and it's not an obligation for me.
Right.
It's definitely good memories, good things, and it's just tradition. It's just part of Christmas. It's just a tradition.
Right.
Now, where I start getting into the lines getting blurred is when we actually move into the executing the get-togethers. So,
As you get
my
older.
yeah, yeah, I mean, once really when it started to get complicated for me was once I moved back near my family again and
Mhm.
I got remarried. Okay, and that's been some years ago now. That's when it started getting complicated. And the reason why it did is because um my husband's family is very much a lot like my family. The
Mhm.
way he grew up, churchgoers, religion's a big part of his growing up. Lots of siblings, lots of cousins, and grandparents very involved. And so when I met him, Christmas Eve, that was their big night to deal with his mom, with his mom's family. And so all of her siblings, and she has a large family like my mom does, and all the spouses and all the grandkids and great grandkids. And it's a big to do. Everybody comes, it's a big deal. And so he enjoys that and he still has his grandparents. And so I'm thinking in my mind, if my grandparents were still alive, I would want to be able to do that still.
Mhm.
And
Absolutely.
so I didn't want to take that away from him, even though I know that there's already traditions on my side with my mom's family, but my grandparents aren't still alive. And a lot of my mom's siblings have moved off to other states. So not everybody gets to partake in that, so to speak.
Right.
So the first couple of years, I would just break my back trying to cook for both places,
Oh,
work. At that point, I'd be working on Christmas Eve. We'd come home, we'd run to a town that's to a house about 45 minutes away, be able to stay there for maybe an hour. Basically, you're cooking, bringing food, saying hi, and leaving.
right.
Leave from there and drive probably over an hour to where his grandparents were, and then you come back by the house real quick, get the food for there and go. I felt like I was just running constantly, so much stress, so much anxiety. So finally, after then we tried it where I would go to my family's and then I would meet him later and we'd be later, I'd be late, and that didn't work.
Right.
So finally, a few years ago, I decided that's it. I'm not going to come do Christmas Eve with my mom's family anymore. We're just gonna go to his grandparents, and that's gonna be that for that. Okay. And
Mhm.
so my mom, because for quite a few years my dad was very sick before he passed away, and my mom was his caregiver. She
Mhm.
really didn't do a lot of things at her house because she had so much going on. And so
Correct.
she didn't have that standing tradition of doing Christmas Eve or doing Christmas Day. So it wasn't like I was skipping out on my mom and my immediate family.
Correct.
So that's what we would do. And then on Christmas Day, um, my husband's mom, my mother-in-law, decided she kind of because my husband was the first one to get married of his siblings, and so she wanted to kind of start her new traditions on Christmas Day. So that's when we would get together with his family, and it's usually either Christmas morning for breakfast or it's Christmas lunch, and we do gifts and all of that. Then on Christmas evening, had started a few years back having my mom and my sister and her husband over to my house for Christmas dinner.
Okay.
So it kind of works out, but it's still really rushed. It it's
Yeah.
like I don't know, it just gets to be so much,
Right.
you
Right.
know? And
And then I mean, you also have to think that you and your husband are a family.
right.
So, where do you and your husband fit in? Or
W-
you and your husband and your daughter and her partner,
Right.
where does that little family fit in?
Right. Well, now my daughters have come in for Christmas several times, and on those times we, you know, do something Christmas morning, and then we run over there and then we come back kind of thing. But the past few years they haven't come in and we haven't gone there, so that hasn't been that issue.
Mhm.
But now the last couple of years my mom has started wanting to do Christmas Eve at her house with
Uh,
her immediate family. And so then here we go again. We're
mhm.
running over there, staying for an hour or 45 minutes, and then we're running out and coming back. So here we go again with all of this. I mean, there's really at that point, why am I even going? I mean, it's
Right.
not that I don't want to see them and I don't want to spend time with them. That's really a mute point. Why am I running over there to drop off food, say hi, be there for 30 minutes and leave? I'm not going to visit with you.
Right. You're not getting any quality
I'm
time.
not getting any quality time with you at
Mhm.
all. And so there I feel like in those situations it's an obligation. You feel obligated to go because if not, you're going to hurt somebody's feelings and you don't want to hurt people's feelings. And so it just gets crazy.
Well, and have you ever noticed that as you're getting older, and I know you have some health issues, and I don't know, but for me personally, in the wintertime, it's harder
Uh-huh.
to get around and to do things just because of the weather.
Yes.
Do you know it makes it harder to move around and just to do
Uh-huh.
normal everyday things in general, and that slows you down. It
Yes.
makes it harder, and so you're battling that on top of the holiday stuff. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
harder. It's just harder.
Oh, for sure. It is hard. It is very hard. Plus, in on top of all of this, I do still work full time,
Mhm.
and you don't the line of work that we are in. We are fortunate we do get some time off at Christmas,
Yes.
but we don't always get a lot of time off before Christmas.
Correct.
And so the day that it's like, woo, it's Christmas break,
Mhm.
you're out the door and you hit the ground running because you're trying to finish up all those things that haven't been done yet, knowing that Christmas
Right.
is only in a couple of days.
Right, and I know in my situation, I have, like now, I've got fall things I have to plan for before fall break because we are now having fall parties that need to get taken care of. That has to happen before fall break and fall Thanksgiving, little
Right.
things need to be purchased. And it's just like, before Christmas break. There's gotta be Christmas presents for the classroom for my daughter that needs to be purchased,
Mhm.
and presents for teachers, and presents
Yes.
for this, that, and the other that need to be purchased. Thank goodness today we live in a society where we can do online shopping. That's not the way it was when our parents had to go through this,
No,
you
not at all.
know?
And what I can tell you is that that's only been something in the recent years that I've
Right.
even taken part in. When my daughter was home and doing that, we didn't do online purchasing and stuff like that.
My son
I
as
had to
well.
physically go out and
Mhm.
go and figure it out, fight the
Mhm.
people and find the bargains and do what you
Yep.
needed to do. But even with the online shopping, if you're a big into that, there's still
Mhm.
so much stuff that has to be done. And like you
Right.
said, um, the gift giving has got out of control. You
Yeah.
can't always give to everyone, and you say, okay, I'm going to just do this person, then that just springboards to another and another and another. You only have so much money. It's not supposed to be about
No, it's not.
It's supposed to be a season about other things. And so, when it gets into this whole gift giving thing, where do you get off on that?
Well,
Where's the stopping point?
and if your love language is gift giving
Uh-huh.
and inflation is at an all-time high in the past 100 years, you know,
Right,
that
exactly.
makes it really difficult because you're like thinking, if I can't get this person, you know, a hand lotion for Christmas, or if I only get them hand lotion for Christmas, they're going to think I don't value them, or I don't love them, or I don't care about them. And that's only the way a person who has a gift giving love language thinks.
Right, yeah.
That's how they think. A person who just wants their hand to be held, doesn't think
Right,
that way. But as a
right.
gift giver, that's
Yeah.
the way they think. So yeah, it's really difficult. That's when it becomes uh, very difficult for the holidays. And as you very well know, these past 2 years, my family I come from a small family, has even dwindled down smaller.
Right, exactly.
Last year
Yes.
was non-existent. This year may be non-existent,
Right.
and I understand I still have children that need to be taken care of. I have one that probably doesn't care if this, that, or the other happens, but still, it's important to produce a Thanksgiving or some type of Christmas. I have another one who is old enough to know and care. So,
Right. Sure,
you know,
absolutely.
so
Yeah.
some of that does become an obligation.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Well, there's just such a high expectancy there.
Yeah.
I think that it's kind of gotten out of control. I mean, sometimes you know, there's some families that buy gifts for everybody. There's some families that
Mhm.
draw names. There's some
Mhm.
families that just buy for the kids. There's some family, you have all these different scenarios. And all of my gift giving is kind of combination of all of that. And
Mhm.
so sometimes it can be really extremely overwhelming. I can understand how people get stressed out and have mental health issues during the holidays because there's
Absolutely.
so financial reasons and everything and in every other way. And
Mhm.
so,
Well,
y
and as you get into to be an adult, you start thinking about how fun and magical the holidays was as a kid, because there's
mhm,
that was mystery of what Santa was gonna bring, or the excitement. Because as I was an only child and a spoiled army brat, I had 9 presents under the tree, and oh my
right,
goodness gracious, I couldn't wait to open them.
right.
Never got that Barbie dream house though, but that'll be brought up in a later episode.
There you go.
Not that I'm
Trauma
bitter.
of childhood.
Mhm.
But I would like to think that boiling it all down, that you do go to family gatherings and partake in the food and the fellowship and the love and the memories, and that it is a I love you and want to be around you more than it's just an obligation. But sometimes I feel like that it comes into play sometimes,
Mhm.
especially if your time is limited and you're having to go two or three different places.
Right.
And then the other thing that I find extremely difficult around the holidays is finding days to do the things that need to be done. Because and
Yes.
I'm gonna take my sister's family for example, because she has a large family. Her and her husband have 6 kids. 6 kids, 6 significant others. There's
Oh,
grandchildren, and
yes.
so with all of those kids, even though they're grown, they have significant others. So that means they have families.
Right.
So are you going to go to them for Christmas Day or Christmas Eve? Because You need to come to my house for Christmas.
Mhm.
You got to divide all that up. Then you have grandparents, and then you have work obligations, you have work parties, you have friends parties, you have, all of these things that you're trying to fit
Yes.
in. You've got the day that you want to go to the Nutcracker. You've got the day that to see the Nutcracker ballet. You got the day that you wanted to have a cooking day. You've got, all of these things, and then you're stressed out because you're trying to find a day that's actually available for you to do that.
Right. Or if your children have, like, Girl Scouts, they'll have something or,
Oh, yeah, or Christmas
yeah.
play at church or
Yes.
choir or
Mhm.
whatever it is. I mean, we have school functions and school
Yes.
plays and school parties and all of those types of things.
Those
So
become
it's
obligations, definitely.
yes, yes, it is. And it almost feels like sometimes it just sucks the fun out of it.
Yeah.
Just sucks the
Yep.
fun out of the holidays.
And, if you are a family listening to that or to this episode, not necessarily our family, but just a family in general, and your child or your significant other or somebody in general can't make it to your place, don't take offense to that. I mean, I know that if they can't be there at a specific time and they can be there 30 minutes later, or maybe they can be there on Christmas and not Christmas Eve, or if they can be there on the 27th, or something, that's what counts. Being there is what counts, not maybe necessarily on that day, but you know, if they can make an attempt, they're at least trying to make an attempt, I guess, is what matters. A
Right.
lot
Yeah.
'cause they've got 15 different, and like your sister's family, I mean, my goodness, 6 kids and then siblings, or not siblings, but, partners, and then their kids and their kids' kids, and
Yeah, it just goes on and on and on.
yeah.
And the other thing that, you know, there's like a it's considered like the holidays around Christmas time is what I'm referring to.
Mhm.
And I mean, if you can't get it on Christmas week, why can't you go into the next week? I mean, I know you don't
Right,
want to be celebrating Christmas after the first of the year, but it's still that Christmas season. They're still playing Christmas music. They play Christmas music until New Year's.
right.
Decorations are still up, those kinds of things. So, yeah, just everybody be mindful that everybody's trying to do their best and families and obligations have gotten out of control for sure.
Everything seems to be an Instagram photo, or everybody's trying to do a Facebook post that makes their family gatherings look like a Hallmark movie or something, and that's not real
Right.
life, and that's okay. Life is messy, life is chaotic, life is busy, life is
Uh-huh.
insane, and that's okay. It's crazy.
Right. Yes, exactly.
That's
Yeah.
okay.
It's going to be all right. But just continue with those um traditions and making those memories and you know
Now, let me ask you this question. Would you ever consider going on, like, a cruise or a vacation or something for, like, Thanksgiving instead of having a dinner, or maybe
right,
going,
and not taking the family or doing it as a family thing. You
well, I
mean
mean,
just like me and my husband go away for the holidays?
either that or your family all go together? And your in-laws all go together somewhere, or
Well, what we have done, and this was a few years back, maybe 5 or 6 years ago now,
mhm,
the control, and we decided as a couple that we were not going to Thanksgiving with my family or his family.
mhm,
We were going to do our own thing, which is the two of us. And
okay,
so we talked about it and we were gonna I was gonna cook and we were gonna do this and that. And then we just decided, you know what? There was a nice restaurant here that wasn't far from us that was doing a Christmas buffet type.
mhm,
Everything was homemade and we decided we got reservations, luckily, and we went. And I'm telling you, it was wonderful. I didn't have to cook. I didn't have to
Mhm.
clean a dish. I wasn't stressed out. I didn't have to go
Yeah.
to the grocery store. The
Uh-huh.
only the only bad part of it that we saw was there weren't leftovers.
Right.
And so that can be a problem. But boy, let me tell you, it was freeing in a way of not
Uh-huh.
having to um, figure out whose year is it because we rotate. Like on Thanksgiving and Easter, we rotate. So one year we're with my family, the next year we're with his. So whatever family we're with Thanksgiving, we're with Easter with the other family and vice versa.
Okay.
And so no figuring out whose turn it is, no none of that. And it was great. Now, you can't do that all the time.
Right.
I mean, that's just not okay with everyone to do that all the time. But
Right.
for that year, it was what I needed to do and we needed to
Mhm.
do as a couple, and we did it, and it was wonderful. And it kind of got us back on track and,
Yeah.
prepared us to just kind of, okay, we're going into this holiday season thing. But I've known people that their whole entire families will go on holiday cruises for
Mhm.
Christmas or Thanksgiving, or they'll go, to the mountains and get an Airbnb and do something like that. And I
Mhm.
mean, I would be game for that. The only problem I find with that would be probably just as stressful as staying here is everybody's going to expect there to be a meal and it be cooked. So not only are you packing for a trip and going, flying, driving, however you're getting there, then you have to figure out how to cook there.
Yeah. I guess.
So
Yeah.
unless it was one of those trips where, like a cruise, or
Right.
somewhere where you just already decided we're not cooking, we're going out.
Mhm.
And then, of course, you have to find where you're going to go because nowadays there's not as
Everything's
many places,
closed.
right?
Mhm.
And so the place that we went to then is not doing that anymore. And so
Mhm.
a lot of places close because they want to give their employees the day off, and I appreciate that.
Yes, absolutely. COVID at least helped bring that back into perspective. It was getting out of hand.
Right. So, um, that's kind of a loaded question because that brings on its own stressors
Right.
as well.
Yeah.
Um, but
Yeah.
this year, I think, obviously, I don't think we're going to be going out of town for Christmas or Thanksgiving. So we will be here and, we'll be rotating with the families again. But yeah, the big thing is probably just to take a breath and relax and just not put all of that stress and stressors on yourself and just try to enjoy the time spent with the family is the more important thing.
Right. Right.
So I think it all works out in the end, but it does get a bit crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. It
So
absolutely does.
yeah. Do you have anything else you want to add?
Oh goodness. Not that I can not that I can think of.
Okay. All
Other than
right. Well,
if anybody wants to buy me you know,
a trip.
tickets, yeah, to Hawaii for Christmas.
There you go. Yes, we aren't getting paid for any of these endorsements that we've done, but hey, feel free to cash app us
Yeah.
money for airline tickets or anything like that you'd
Yeah,
like to do. That
Hawaii,
just
if
would
you
be
hear this, just Yeah.
aloha. Here we come.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we want to thank everybody for tuning in with us tonight and listening to us ramble about what we feel about the holidays and hope you enjoyed it and have a safe rest of your evening. And we'll see you back next time.
Bye.